The reason most men fail at love, at politics, at life, is because they speak when they should remain silent. They reveal when they should withhold. They believe others are loyal, when in truth, loyalty is rare and betrayal is inevitable. In this video, we uncover 7 things Machiavelli himself would never reveal, not even to a trusted friend. If you've ever been backstabbed, misunderstood, or underestimated, it's likely you spoke one of these forbidden truths. After this, you won't make that mistake again. A man who reveals too much becomes a man who controls nothing. Let us begin with the first truth you must absorb. Power is preserved through silence. Not just any silence, but a strategic, brutal silence. Crafted not out of fear, but of mastery. Because the most dangerous truths are not those you lie about, but the ones you confess to others in misplaced moments of openness. You have been told since childhood that speaking your mind is noble. That openness brings closeness. That vulnerability is strength, but Machiavelli knew what most never learn until it is too late. The man who reveals himself invites his own destruction. Your words are daggers, sharp when aimed at others, but deadly when handed over in trust. The moment you speak a secret, whether it be your weakness, your ambition, or your intention, you are no longer its master. You are its prisoner. Because you've placed your fate into someone else's hands. And people, my dear listener, are not loyal creatures. They are predictable in one way only. They will act in their own interest the moment it serves them. You must begin to look at your words like gold coins. Spend them sparingly. Count them often. Ask yourself before speaking, what power do I lose by saying this? And more importantly, what power might they gain? The average man speaks to relieve himself, to feel seen, to bond. He shares his secrets because he believes it creates trust. But trust built on confession is a fragile lie. It is trust that makes you feel warm while it quietly arms the other person with everything they need to destroy you. Do not be deceived. The enemy is not always cloaked in shadows. The enemy often wears a familiar face. The enemy laughs with you, praises you, invites you closer, and waits. Because the moment you fall from grace, the moment your influence weakens, they will remember everything you told them, every confession, every fear, every unguarded truth, and they will use it. Let me speak plainly. A man who says too much is never feared. And if you are not feared, even subtly, even respectfully, you are not safe. There is no power without control, and there is no control without mystery. To lead, you must learn to speak without revealing, to engage without exposing. You can charm, you can persuade, you can dominate a room without giving away the one thing that keeps you untouchable, your internal world. Now imagine 2 rulers at war. One reveals his battle plans, his doubts, the betrayals within his court. He does so out of trust. The other listens, nods, gives away nothing. No weakness, no detail. He smiles and says only what serves his purpose. Which man do you think will win when the knives are drawn? It is not the man who speaks from the heart. It is the man who speaks from calculation. The illusion of openness is your greatest weapon. Let them believe they know you. Give them fragments, misleading anecdotes, controlled emotion. Let them feel connected. But inside, you must remain sealed, an unreadable vault. Because once they truly know you, they can predict you. And once they can predict you, they can control you. A silent man disturbs people. He unsettles them. Why? Because silence forces them to imagine. It creates space for fear, for admiration, for speculation. People will invent a legend around what you don't say. They will project strength, wisdom, danger. Even if you possess none of those things, that is the paradox of power. What is unknown is always feared more than what is revealed. And once they fear you, even quietly, they respect you. Respect is the doorway to influence. And influence, unlike trust, is built to last. The weak man tells you his goals. The powerful man tells you only what he's already achieved. The weak man says, "I'm struggling." The powerful man says, "Everything is proceeding as expected," even when the storm is swallowing him whole. The weak man seeks comfort. The powerful man creates perception. You do not preserve power by being honest. You preserve power by being strategic. And strategy begins in silence. Do not confuse this with cowardice. It takes immense strength to stay silent when you are dying to be understood. When you want to cry out your betrayal. When you want someone to feel sorry for your pain. But kings do not beg. They do not confess. They endure. And they choose silence not because they have nothing to say, but because what they hold inside is too valuable to give away for free. You must begin to train your instinct. Before you speak, pause, not just to think, but to observe. What is the outcome of this statement? Who benefits? What might this reveal about me that cannot be unseen? Understand this: silence buys you time. Silence gives you leverage. Silence turns you into a riddle they cannot solve. And in that mystery, you become powerful. Not because you dominate through force, but because you become unknowable. And no one dares destroy what they cannot fully understand. If you bleed in front of wolves, do not be surprised when they tear you apart smiling. You have been taught that vulnerability is strength. That showing your wounds will inspire loyalty, bring you closer to others, and make you more human. But Machiavelli would laugh at this sentiment, not out of cruelty, but because he understood the darker truth. Vulnerability is not strength unless it is a weapon, and weapons belong only in the hands of those cold enough to use them deliberately. The knave man bears his soul because he thinks it will make others love him. The strategic man reveals pain only when it serves a precise function. Do you understand the difference? One bleeds because he cannot help it. The other fakes a limp so his enemies lower their guard. Let me ask you this. Have you ever opened up to someone, truly opened up, only to watch them change, to feel the air shift? They nod politely. They say the right words. But now, in their eyes, you are smaller, weaker, easier to manipulate. They would never admit it, but the calculation begins the moment your armor cracks. They file away your weakness like a dagger in their sleeve, waiting for the day they'll need it. That is the nature of man. It is not kind. It is not safe, and those who forget this pay dearly. Machiavelli knew that people are not drawn to weakness. They are drawn to the appearance of weakness when it hides a sharp mind and a ruthless will. There is a difference between strategic softness and uncontrolled fragility. The world will embrace you if they believe your vulnerability is part of your strategy, but if they sense it is real, if they see the bleeding wound is fresh, they will press on it. They may not even know why they do it. It is instinctual. The lion does not pity the limping deer. You must stop believing that honesty, on its own, is a virtue. It is only a virtue when it is a move. A piece of the game, a whisper that earns you trust while you quietly stay 5 moves ahead. Because if your openness is genuine and not strategic, you are gambling with something you cannot take back. The powerful man is never truly vulnerable. He may appear to be, but beneath the surface, he is watching, measuring, calculating the response. He knows exactly what story to tell, what tear to show, what truth to drip, just enough to make the other person lean in, to lower their sword. The problem is, most people confuse manipulation with malice. But this is not about cruelty. This is about survival, influence, preservation. If you want love, give people the version of your pain that makes them feel noble, useful, close to you. But never the kind that gives them real access to your mind. Because once they know how to break you, they never forget. You've seen this in your own life, haven't you? You confessed to a friend. You told them what keeps you up at night. You trusted them with your inner world. And in the moment it felt good, liberating. But later when the relationship soared, they brought up what you thought was safe. Threw it in your face. Or worse, they didn't say anything. They just filed it away, changed how they looked at you, and quietly shifted the balance of power. This is the cruelty of confession. It cannot be undone. So here is what the prince must do. He must reverse the rule. He must learn to fake the wound, but never suffer it. He must learn to reveal only what builds an illusion of closeness, while never surrendering the real architecture of his mind. Vulnerability becomes a mask, a trap, a gesture. Show them emotion, but never show them the source. Give them sadness, but only the sadness that makes them feel closer to you, not superior. Tell them you are tired, but never tell them why. And when they cry in your arms, when they open themselves to you, you must never follow suit unless it serves a purpose. The world is full of emotional merchants. They trade their suffering for attention, for comfort, for control. But the true strategist never trades. He leases. He offers just enough of himself to gain leverage, to gather information, to test loyalty. Never enough to be captured. Because once you give someone the blueprint to your soul, they do not need to destroy you. They only need to wait until the moment is right and flick a single match. You will burn yourself down with your own trust. The illusion of vulnerability can break down walls, but real vulnerability builds no walls at all. It invites the invasion. When people believe you are open, they relax, they reveal. They give you their weapons. That is the moment you strike, not with violence, but with precision, with timing, with control. Because now they are the ones who expose themselves. They are the ones at risk. And you are untouched, watching, listening, holding your truth like a concealed blade, smiling through the silence. The truth is not what happened. The truth is what they believe happened. If you wish to understand power, understand this first. He who controls the narrative controls perception, and he who controls perception controls reality itself. And there is no greater narrative than the one shaped not by what you say, but by what you withhold. The world does not run on truth. It runs on interpretation, on impressions, on guesses, and the most powerful man is not the one who speaks the most clearly, but the one who lets others fill in the gaps. Because silence, well-placed, purposeful silence, becomes a canvas onto which others project their fears, their hopes, and their illusions. This is where most men fail. They rush to explain themselves, to clarify, to confess. They fear being misunderstood more than they fear being powerless. But you must reverse this. A Machiavellian mind does not explain. It implies, it hints, it withholds. Because every time you offer an explanation, you give away a piece of control. Imagine two men walking into a room. One tells you everything, his story, his opinions, his struggles, his intentions. He believes this will make him understood, even admired. But the second man says very little. He listens, he observes. He chooses his words like a sculptor chiseling stone. Which man commands the room? Which one keeps others guessing? Which one makes people wonder, who is he really? It is always the second. Mystery is magnetic, and what creates mystery is not what you reveal, but what you intentionally leave out. Let them guess your past. Let them speculate about your motives. Let them wonder whether you are as calm as you seem, or whether there is a storm beneath your silence. This uncertainty becomes your armor, because if they cannot define you, they cannot attack you. They swing at shadows, and shadows do not bleed. You see, when you withhold information, you force others to come to conclusions on their own. And here is the beautiful trick. People are far more loyal to ideas they create themselves. If you say you are strong, they will question it. But if they conclude it, if they observe your restraint, your calm, your silence, and decide on their own that you are dangerous or intelligent or strategic, they will believe it more deeply than if you had said it yourself. This is the principle Machiavelli lived by. Kings do not explain their decisions. Generals do not confess their doubts. A prince does not cry out to be seen. He creates a persona so compelling that others invent reasons to follow him. To lead minds, you must give them just enough to build the image you want. Then stop. Say less than necessary. In the gaps, they will imagine more. And in their imagination, you are no longer a man. You become a myth, a symbol, an enigma too complex to challenge. But it is not only what you withhold about yourself. It is also what you withhold about others. Say you learn a secret, a weakness, a flaw. The common man cannot resist exposing it. He wants to feel superior, clever, one step ahead. But the strategist does not expose what he knows. He stores it, observes, waits. Because once you reveal what you know, you lose its power. There is something unsettling about a man who knows more than he says. People begin to treat you differently. They censor themselves. They tread lightly. And that is the beginning of real influence. Not through force, not through titles, but through perception. You do not need to be the smartest man in the room. You only need to make them wonder what you're thinking. Because wondering turns into watching. Watching turns into second guessing, and second guessing turns into hesitation. And in the battlefield of life, hesitation is death. When others pause to consider your silence, you have already taken ground. The ones who survive in politics, business, or war are not the most talented. They are the most disciplined. The ones who understand that sometimes silence screams louder than words. That the most dangerous move is not always the loudest. It is the one no one sees coming, because you never advertised it. You must become a master of half-truths, not lies, but fragments, strategic omissions. Let them know you struggled, but never tell them how you overcame it. Let them know you're planning something, but never say what. Make your presence known, but your strategy invisible. You will notice something interesting when you live this way. People begin to talk more around you. They offer details you never asked for. They fill the space you leave behind with their own noise, and in that noise, they reveal everything. Their biases, their plans, their fears, all while believing they are in control of the conversation. But you sit quietly. You speak sparingly. You shape the room not with noise, but with gravity, with intention, with gaps. The mistake most make is assuming control requires dominance. It doesn't. It requires restraint. The more you speak, the more you give them tools to analyze, dissect, and dismantle your position. But when you hold back, when you resist the urge to be known, you become untouchable. You must understand the narrative is never neutral. It is always being shaped. If you do not shape it, someone else will. And they will use your words against you, twist them, reframe them, repackage them as weakness. But if you give them only fragments, if you leave them chasing your silence, they can never catch you. They can only follow. Trust is the most dangerous currency a man can carry. Spend it carelessly, and you will be robbed not once, but for the rest of your life. Do not make the mistake of thinking trust is a gift. It is not. It is not something you give or something you receive. It is not born out of time, nor out of loyalty, nor out of love. Trust is engineered. Carefully, deliberately, coldly. Machiavelli knew this better than anyone. The ruler who trusts blindly will die with a knife between his ribs. The lover who trusts too soon will awaken in betrayal. The leader who assumes loyalty has already lost control. Because trust is not something you feel, it is something you manufacture. In them, not in you. Understand this: the goal is not to trust people. The goal is to make them trust you deeply, fully, without ever giving them access to the parts of you that matter. People want to feel safe. They crave the illusion of security, of certainty, of knowing where they stand. And when they think they know you, when you mirror their values, echo their fears, validate their stories, they begin to trust, not because you are trustworthy, but because you are familiar, predictable, like them. This is your advantage, Because trust built on similarity is the easiest to exploit. The more you appear to be aligned with someone, morally, emotionally, politically, the more likely they are to lower their guard. And once the guard is down, their secrets, their patterns, their weaknesses all become visible. They begin to confide in you, to lean on you, to open themselves, without you ever doing the same. Let me be clear. This is not manipulation for sport. This is survival. This is influence. This is how power is built in a world where everyone is waiting for you to make the first mistake. You do not walk through this world unguarded. You do not say, "I trust them," and mean it, not unless you have engineered every variable. Not unless the risk is calculated, controlled, and reversible. And even then, you trust them like a man trusts a serpent he's fed for 10 years carefully. Never fully, always ready to withdraw the hand. You see, real trust is not symmetrical. It is a structure, and you must be its architect. You must control what they know, how they feel, what they reveal. You make them trust you by showing just enough honesty to earn their loyalty, while hiding just enough truth to preserve your safety. They do not need to know your doubts, your fears, your long-term plans. These are locked away, guarded, untouchable. But they must believe you are sincere. They must believe you are open. Because the best deception is one that carries the scent of truth. Trust is like a bridge. It is not enough to walk across it. You must build it in such a way that they walk toward you, while you never leave your side. This is why the most powerful men appear to trust others. They smile, they speak kindly, they give titles and praise. But they are always testing, always measuring. They never hand someone a sword unless they know exactly which way it will swing. And even then, they keep a second blade under the table. You must become this way, not paranoid, but aware. Not hostile, but precise. Trust, when given blindly, is not a virtue. It is a gamble, and a foolish one. Ask yourself, when you say you trust someone, what does that mean? That they won't betray you? That they wouldn't dare? That they love you? None of these are guarantees. Love does not stop betrayal. Loyalty does not erase ambition. Familiarity does not erase temptation. And people change the moment the reward outweighs the risk. So you must build systems. You must create a world in which betrayal costs them more than loyalty ever could. That is real control. Not trust, but alignment of interests. They stay with you because it benefits them. They protect you because to harm you would harm themselves. That is not emotion. That is strategy. This is how you engineer trust. You remove choice. You bind them to you with invisible chains made of need, fear, and ambition. You reward their loyalty, punish their disobedience, and never, ever show your full hand. Because once they know everything about you, they begin to weigh your value. And once they calculate your value, the temptation to replace you is born. Keep them invested. Keep them guessing. Give them the illusion of closeness while keeping them at arm's length. Let them feel trusted, even adored, but never let them see the root. Trust is not built in honesty. It is built in design. And you, if you are to rise, must become a designer of men, a sculptor of perception, a master of silent levers, invisible ropes, the ones they feel but cannot see. Because the moment they realize you trust no one, not even them, they will respect you more, and fear you more, and serve you more loyally than if you had wept in their arms and handed them your soul. Now you begin to see it, don't you? The world is not governed by honesty, or kindness, or trust, but by silence, calculation, and the careful orchestration of perception. The weak expose their souls and wonder why they are trampled. The strong design illusions and watch others kneel before shadows they cannot understand. You were taught to speak freely, to trust openly, to share your thoughts, your pain, your plans. You were told that those who know you deeply will love you more. But I am telling you this, those who know you deeply will eventually use you completely. unless you control what they know. So you must learn to wield silence like a blade, shape the truth with precision, withhold without guilt. Trust no one blindly. Instead, create loyalty through leverage. Forge intimacy through illusion. And above all, speak only what strengthens your position, or say nothing at all. Because the men who survive are not the loudest, not the most honest, but the ones who remain unreadable, untouchable, and unexposed. Now the warning begins. The following are 7 secrets Machiavelli would never speak aloud. Not to a friend, not to a lover, not even to his most trusted ally. These are truths so volatile, so revealing, that to share them would be to hand over the keys to your destruction. Listen carefully, and remember, the first man to speak always loses.